All right, so I was getting ready to go to the gym this morning at 6 o'clock, and I noticed that the option to monetize my channel came up. So even though I got all of the requirements out of the way last week, it took the website a little while, approximately 4 days, to realize that I'm back on top. In fact, I'm bigger than ever on YouTube and really raking in the views and the watch time and hitting all my metrics. So a few minutes ago, I managed to go onto the YouTube page and re monetize the channel. And I think this channel is going to get a lot bigger because when I lost my last channel, I had to rethink the way that I did YouTube. And when you haven't rethought how you do something in 18 years, because remember, that's how long I've been on YouTube. 18 years. In fact, my channel turned 18 on July 9th. And less than a month after I turned 18, YouTube turned me off and used the pathetic excuse of repeat content. And I'm like, everyone is on repeat on YouTube. But I think because I'm using a lot more images that I don't have to uh, use from Google Images, I'm actually creating every image on this on my new channel is unique. All my content is unique because what I'm doing is I'm just taking your comments and rehashing them, and it's producing great content that people really want to see. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. So as usual, I will put the comment that I used in order to create this these talking points down in the description, so you guys can see what I was working with to start out with. All right, talking point number one: it drains mental and emotional energy, steals personal relationships, and leaves little room for personal growth or happiness. What is this referring to? It is referring to our daily jobs. As I've said before, I spend at least 15 minutes to an hour trying to motivate myself to go to work because it does drain you. When I get home at the end of the day and I still have to sit here for the next hour working on what I'm going to talk about for my next video, I feel that drain. I feel emotionally empty. And as for your personal relationships, there's really nothing you can do at night. There's You get home from work at around 6 o'clock and you don't want to go out again because you know you need to go to sleep early so that you can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to see if you can get to the gym before work or start cooking something for yourself in the morning. And then you got to get ready for work, and that takes time. But at the same time, you're not happy because there's no room for personal growth if all you do is go to work and come home and you're just done. You're cooked. Stick a fork in your rear, you're done. In fact, I've had even some of the sweetest ladies that I work with at my job that I've never met before, but I was teasing yesterday about leaving work and going to the zoo and riding one of those animal shaped scooters that they have at the zoo after having a few cold ones, and she thought it was hilarious. But it's just not feasible. Our jobs aren't designed for human beings. That's what I've come to the conclusion, is that these jobs were never designed for human beings. No human being would intentionally put someone into the wage cage and see how you react to it, because we're reacting to it very badly. There are so many unhappy people in the workplace right now that they outnumber everyone else. In fact, yesterday when we found out that our leadership had decided to leave, many of us just kind of looked at each other and were like, what just happened? the the leading person of Evil Corp just sent a message saying, I don't work here anymore. And bam, just like that, they were gone and replaced with another person. And that just doesn't happen. Uh, and so we're still kind of like, in shock, I think, many of us, because you don't expect it. Like, I've had four senior supervisors, and they all just come and go because the job is just that terrible. And I tried to tell people above me that you can't expect people to stay in a job that has no career path, no increases in pay, and the work progressively becomes more and more work. Like yesterday, I got a call that I needed to go shopping because one of the executives needed something right now and couldn't wait. And I was just like, you know what? You better talk to my boss because I I'm not doing that. Anyhow, moving on to talking point number two. Work harder yet never feel financially secure or free. This dynamic is intentional, keeping people reliant on the system. I've been telling you guys this for years. This system was intentionally created to keep people, unhappy people in the workplace. And you are working harder, not just theoretically working harder. We are pumping out more work with less people in this day and age than we ever have in human history. And yet we're not being rewarded. We're being given our McDonald's Happy Meal toy at the end of the day and told that, this is it. Here's your motivational toy. Look at the dead eyes of your toy and work harder. And not feeling financially secure, I mean, when you have to hear it from the people around you at work that are wondering, because we're all scared, right? Because we're not saving anything for retirement. We all don't know when we're going to get laid off or whether or not Evil Corp's going to be around tomorrow. Losing so many top officials of Evil Corp in 1 year, it makes you nervous. If you're not scared in the workplace that you might lose your job today, tomorrow, the day after, you're not scared enough because we're seeing it everywhere. Downsizing is happening because it's just the world we live in. People have less money right now. And because we have less money, business is going to have to slow down. That's what a recession is, when things slow down because people don't have money. And I started looking for another job a couple of weekends ago when I finally just got fed up with my current job. But I've been on Indeed every day. There's nothing good on there. The wages that they are offering on there for an introductory level job are horrendous. And the jobs that do pay more, and this just happened last night after I did my video, I got a phone call from a person that just went to a job interview with a big bank. And the reason they rejected her was because they wanted someone that already knew how to do that job. And she was beside herself, angry after going to this interview and being told she didn't know enough about the job in order to get the job. And I've been saying this for years on my channel, is that these evil corporations are posting jobs with requirements that exceed entry level experience, and they're doing this on purpose. It's intentional to make certain that no one can qualify for the upper level jobs, and having people who are overqualified in the lowest entry level jobs imaginable. This is what keeps people reliant on the system. We can't have financial security in a system that is intentionally keeping us trapped in it. And the worst part is the feeling of insecurity that you wake up with every day. Every day when you're getting ready to go to work, you don't feel good about going to work. In fact, you feel the opposite way, that it's not making your life better. In fact, it's making your life worse. Because as I said, it takes away everything. When I worked at Walmart, I remember hearing people who would say, I'm missing birthdays, I'm missing holidays, I'm missing my nights, I never get to relax because this job can call you in 6 days a week because there's always someone who's not going to show up. There's always someone in retail who doesn't need the money, who isn't showing up. And then you've got to cover other people's shifts, or you've got to stay late or come early. It's always this very convoluted process. And when you ask, I would stop and ask management, why don't you hire more people? And then they would say, because that costs money. And I'm like, oh my God, you truly are working these people to the ground and then wondering why people don't show up to work. I've personally witnessed at least half a dozen employees who haven't come into work because they got hurt or they're mentally finished. They're having mental breakdowns because of the work. And my next talking point is burnout as the new norm. Workers are reaching the point of exhaustion without seeing the promised rewards. What are the promised rewards? What are you getting out of a job that pays you less than $40,000 a year? You're not getting great benefits. In fact, my Gen Z yesterday asked, why do we have to pay so much for medical insurance and get so little out of it? Because they can. Paying for overpriced medical insurance, if you're paying $150 a paycheck for medical insurance that you never have time to use because you can't take time off work, there's very little paid time off in the current workforce. They literally want you there every single day and then wonder why you're burning out, why you're unhappy, why are you unmotivated, and overall, why are you a lousy worker? I've been called lazy so many times at this job while busting my hump, and I find it offensive to call a person lazy that has to come to work and do the job of five people. But it's still not enough. And of course, the compensation isn't nearly enough either. And it goes back to that phrase I like to say, you pretend to pay me and I pretend to work. This is the today's world. It's like it's just not enough. I mean, I know someone that I work with that has three jobs. Meeting people that have three jobs, not just three regular jobs. They have a full-time job, a part-time job, and a gig job. And you're like, "Oh my God, when do you get to see your house?" And someone left a comment yesterday that she doesn't understand how we spend so much money on rent, but we hardly ever get to be there. Like for me, I just come home weekends during the week, and I get to see my house at basically at night, and then I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to start getting ready for the day. I'm never home, and yet it's the largest bill that I have every single month is the rent, but I never get to be home. And on the weekends, my stomach is turning because I'm nervous about having to go back to work Monday morning. So even though Monday feels like, and I don't know why people keep saying this, like it's not one or two people, but once you come back from the weekend, once it's Monday morning, it feels like Monday all the way till Friday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And if it's a non-payday Friday like tomorrow is for me, you're just sitting there and you just kind of twiddle your fingers, twiddle your thumbs, and think about, am I going to make it to the next Friday with what I've got left in the bank? Because that first Friday, when you get paid, at least you're going to be able to make it through the weekend. But getting into the next paycheck, that's stressful because it's just not enough money. And so we're all stressed out and we're going to a job and we look at the what they pay us every 2 weeks and you're just like everything about life is stressful. And there's nothing you can do about it because there's no place better. Every time I ask, it's like, is there a better job out there? Well, guess what? Everyone else is looking for a better job too. Because we're all in the same boat together. We're all exhausted. We're all emotionally drained. We're financially insecure because there is no job security in today's job market. And we don't know what to do. Because the work life balance that especially young people are looking for doesn't exist. We have a work-centric culture, which robs people of meaningful personal experiences. The work-centric culture means that work doesn't ever really feel like it stops. I wake up at night and I tell myself, stop thinking about work. There's nothing you can do right now about all the things that you have to do tomorrow or the day after, whether or not we're going to hit our numbers, whether or not there's going to be layoffs, whether or not your boss is going to come in the next day and say, you don't work here anymore. It's happened to me so many times in my life where you just show up to work and it's like, well, sorry, you didn't make it. We need someone that's more motivated, someone that's more positive thinking at work. We need someone that will do more with less. Basically, once you get let go, they're going to pay the person they replace you with less money. And at least at my evil corp, there's very little training. And that's why they can't hire people with no experience or with little experience, because the less experience you have, especially for a job as dynamic as mine that has so many variables, so many different mechanisms, so many levers you're pushing up and down all day, you have to bring in people who have a lot of experience and then not pay them for it, because your experience is your training. And like I said earlier, this girl that I talked to who interviewed, she didn't have the experience to do that job, which means that they would have to invest money into the training program in order to get her up and running. They don't want to do that. I've seen this with every single senior manager that I've had is they bring them in, there's no training, there's a vague job description, and when they can't do all the things that they want, they start getting upset. It's like, why isn't he doing this? Well, because you didn't tell him he was going to have to do this. Why isn't he doing that? Because he doesn't have time. And if there's one thing that upper management hates hearing from the proletariat is, oh, I don't have time to do that because I'm doing this. And they're like, you need to make time. Like when they required so many hours of training per 6 months or per quarter. And it's like, when am I supposed to have time to do the training? And a lot of it really comes down to them expecting you to work outside of the clock. And every person that I've talked to in this who has to work, they're completely against it. I'm not working on my weekends. I'm not working for free on the weekends, and I'm not working at night. And technically, training doesn't count as actual work. It's just part of work. So they continuously tell you to find time. And when they give you projects, they ask you to find time. Well, if you already have a full-time job, and they want to put more things on it, everyone also comes to the conclusion that, well, if they're going to add this, they need to take something off. That's never going to happen. Either you can do more or they will find someone to pay less. And then that person will burn out. I mean, the amount of turnover that we have in the workforce right now because of people finding no reason to come back to work. I'm sure that on a daily basis, I'm going to say thousands of people make that decision that they're not going to go into work because they don't feel good about it. And these are people who are fortunate enough to have a financial system that allows them to do it. But for the rest of us, we just have to put our heads down, grab our ankles, and pretend that it's okay. This is normal. This is normal to feel like you have nothing left at the end of the day, that somehow they're going to reward you for your dedication, but that's not true. There's no there's no loyalty from the proletariat to the corporation. And we know that the corporation has no loyalty to the average worker whatsoever. If you aren't producing, or if you are coming into work with a bad attitude, or if you are doing something that the corporation doesn't like, is just going to replace you. You have no meaning to them. And that's what's frightening, is that since no one's loyal to anyone, it just feels like we're in a transient relationship with our job all of the time. And it doesn't matter where you go, it's the same thing everywhere you go. We've gotten into this culture where this work centric culture treats people as if they're not people. And that's what I really don't like about work, is that the human component has been completely removed. So the proletariat doesn't have the things that it needs to be happy. So what? When was the last time you went on a real vacation? I can say that it's never happened for me. Why? Because you just don't have the money, you don't have the time, and even if you were to go on vacation, like I've met a lot of people who told me that going on vacation just meant that all the work that they would have been doing if they hadn't gone on vacation is just sitting there waiting for them when they get back. So you have a double or triple load of work that you've got to get through. And I've also met people who are on working vacations, well, where they will go to, let's say, Mexico, but while they're there, they actually take their work computer and they're working during the day, and then going and then relaxing in the afternoon. What would be the point of that? If you have to take work with you on a work vacation, it's not a real vacation. It's just working remote. Anyhow, what do I have for toxic positivity today? I was just thinking of something. It's waking up in the morning. First thing, most of us want to do something for ourselves. We want to do something that makes us feel happy. And for me, at least in the last few months, maybe 6 months, maybe last year, I can't find anything to feel happy about. It feels like the constant financial struggle to survive is the only thing that's in the pit of my stomach every morning when I wake up. And when I try to think of, like, I forced myself last night, I kept having a lot of nightmares about life, right? I mean, if you're alive right now, you're having nightmares. And I couldn't focus my mind onto anything positive. And I started thinking, is there really nothing good happening in my life? And I have to be 100% with myself. There's nothing good about being in survival mode and trying to get out of it, and then going to look where the jobs are and only seeing nothing but junk. It's like the downward spiral for the proletariat just continues to go further and further down, like it's an abyss. There is no bottom. It's just more and more of the same, and we all want out of it. Because as I keep saying, as a society, we need to do better. This work centric culture is not for human beings. It's for robots that don't have feelings and that don't need to feel any sense of happiness. We need to do better. And we need to do better soon, because most of us are falling apart in real time.